Hey, Dork friends, this is Marissa Skell, and you're tuning in to the 13th Wolf Man.
Hey everyone, I'm the 13th Wolfman, and you know who I have with me today on Sit Down? I have Deborah Dtuch. You might know her from movies such as Hard to Die, Graduation Day, and her newest movie coming out called Hellcat's Revenge. Welcome to Sit Down, Debbie.
Hi, how are you guys doing?
I'm doing fine. Yes.
Awesome.
So this is a new one. I get to talk to, you've been in the movie business for quite a long time. One of your first movies was Bruce Lee Fights Back from the Grave.
Yes, yeah, that was a long time ago. I was a little kid back in those days.
What was that like?
But yeah, everybody asks me about that movie. It is so funny because I have no idea why either. It's really a funny little part of my career. But I had come out to LA. I was like around I think it was around 16, and I was introduced to a couple people in town. And in those days, I was still in school, so I came out, and I was actually with my grandmother, and went to visit my uncle, who was a famous astrologer by the name of Carol Ryder. He was the astrologer to the stars, and he had a house that used to be Joan Crawford's house up in the hills, in Hollywood Hills, and he would have these fabulous Hollywood parties, and they would be from my grandmother. She was a Leo, so he would always have a lion out in the front yard, and all these big stars came in, like Robert Wagner and Marlene Dietrich back in the day. And there was little me, and I sang at one of the parties, because in those days I had a pretty good voice. And I was introduced to a couple of producers, big producers, MGM, et cetera, and so forth. But what happened was I met a manager. And so he said, well, whenever you're in town, give me a call, and I'll send you out. So I was back in town for some holiday or whatever, and he put me up for the audition for Bruce Lee Fights Back from the Grave. And it was the funniest audition I ever had. I met June Chong. He had a kung fu studio next to Chuck Norris's on Wilshire Boulevard. And, of course, I go in, and I knew Chuck Norris from, the movies, but I didn't know June. But June was like one of the contenders to be one of the new Bruce Lee stars, because Bruce Lee had passed away at some point around that time frame. I don't know exactly when, but they were trying to replace him in the world of martial arts, and martial arts was really big time at that time. So anyway, June really liked me a lot, and he told me to meet them at a big restaurant down in Koreatown. And so, of course, I drove my little car down there and sat at the table, couldn't understand a word anybody was saying. The director was there, the producers from Korea were there, everybody's talking Korean, and they just kept looking at me, and then, talking, blah, 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 blah. I couldn't understand anything. And then what happened is June Chong, the martial art, he was in, at that time a big star, I guess, in the martial arts world, just said to me, we're going to start filming tomorrow, so please meet us at such and such a spot. And that's how it happened. I had no idea what they said, what happened, or anything. And it happened through a manager that I met at a party at my grandmother's birthday. So, and I just shot during a vacation over Thanksgiving, and went back to school. And what happened was it became a big hit in Korea. And when I came back the following summer, because I believe I was like 17 or something, and graduated from high school, they asked me to do a 5-picture deal. And I said, no way. I said, I'm, trained actress, whatever, I'm going to shoot for the big time. And they weren't upset or anything, but I never could understand a word they were saying. So, so anyway, so that's how it all happened. And then the friend of mine, a couple of years later, was in New York City in Times Square, and I had moved to LA at this point. And he said, Debbie, you're in a big billboard on Times Square. And I said, what are you talking about? And they said, you're in a movie called Bruce Lee Fights Back from the Grave. And I said, what? I couldn't believe it. So anyway, it became a big hit in Korea. And still to this day, people ask me about this movie. And it's the funniest thing. I could tell you stories about it that are absolutely hilarious. I had to do all my own stunts. I wasn't in the union yet. So I worked around the clock because I only had like about a couple of different weeks to shoot it on. They would fly me back and forth from New Jersey, where I'm from. And it was absolutely treacherous. It was so hard because I had to learn martial arts on the set. And so it was really fun and exciting, but it definitely was quite an adventure, to say the least.
I think the reason people, ask you about it is because, I've loved film for as long as I can remember, and I actually remember when Bruce Lee died, and I don't remember.
When did he die?
He died in 1974.
Okay, that's why, this movie was such a big deal, because there were, my understanding was they were trying to find the replacement for Bruce Lee, and Jun Chong actually had quite a connection with the Korean film people, and so he was one of the top contenders. So I think that's why that movie really went places.
Yeah, there were quite a few Bruce Lee imitators back then. After Bruce Lee died, there was Bruce Lee instead of Lee. He was another big one. But I think a lot of people ask you about it is because I don't ever remember seeing this movie. Bruce Lee Fights Back from the Grave. So I think
you never saw it.
I never saw this movie. No.
Oh my gosh, it is so good. It's really good.
Now,
I'm really surprised how good it turned out. I know a lot of other stories behind it, but I better not say anything because legally there's all kinds of stuff that went down with it too, and I stay completely out of it. My name on it's Deborah Chaplin, which is interesting because one of my idols when I was a young actress at that time was Charlie Chaplin. And I had nothing to do with the choosing of my name.
Well,
Isn't that
that's
interesting?
That's like Michael Keaton and Diane Keaton. Their last names aren't Keaton. Diane,
really?
I don't remember what Diane Keaton's last name is, but she changed her name. She changed her last name to honor her favorite comedic actor, and that was Buster Keaton.
Oh. And Michael Keaton did the same thing?
Well, yes, but in Michael Keaton's case, he couldn't use his name legally because his real name is Michael Douglas.
Oh, my gosh.
Right. So he can't use Michael Douglas because of the actor, and he can't use Mike Douglas because of the guy that used to have the TV show.
Oh my gosh!
So he changed his last name to honor his favorite actor, Diane Keaton.
Oh my gosh! That's so interesting.
I always thought so.
So tell me a little bit about your cool show, because I Googled it and everything, and I got a few little things coming on. But it seems like you guys are kind of brand new and up and coming and everything, huh?
Oh, we've been doing this. We're going on 2 years at the end of September. So
wow, congratulations! I'm so honored that you guys called to ask me, contacted me on Facebook to be a part of it, because I love being up with the latest with all you guys, what you're doing and everything, because things are really rocking for me. I'm going to Omaha. Have you ever heard of Dustin Ferguson?
Nah, name doesn't ring a bell.
Well, he does all these, he's a young filmmaker out of Nebraska, evidently. I've never met him, but he contacted me on Facebook, and he does all the new Meat Hook Massacre movies.
Oh, cool.
I know, really cool. And so, they're flying me in and, paying me and all that kind of good stuff to do a cameo guest star in a couple weeks. And I play a Christy Brinkley type of part.
Okay.
In what was that Summer Vacation when she drives up in the Corvette and flirts with Chevy Chase? Just
Vacation. Yeah.
Yeah. So I play I have a white Corvette, and which is kind of nice, and I play Auntie Deb. So of course it's a teenage movie, and somehow I'm playing the sexy aunt in there. And it's going to be really fun. We shoot all day and all night in a cave in Omaha, Nebraska. That's coming up. So,
now, what's that one called?
It's called Meat Hook Massacre 2, I think. I don't know. Let me look at my script here. I just have my scenes here. Yeah, I think it's Meat Hook Massacre 2. So he's done a couple of Meat Hook Massacres out of Nebraska. And then Hellcat's Revenge, that's out of Erie, Pennsylvania with Len Kapuscinski, who's like unbelievable. Have you interviewed Len?
Not yet. There's a lot of people we haven't got around to. We do a lot of independent filmmakers and actresses. And, we try to do one a week. And so it just, the list just is so long of everyone. I mean, it's just another name we're going to have to put on the list.
Oh, my gosh. Well, I'm so thrilled that you guys asked me, because I want to be up with the latest of everything.
Well, I've been a horror fan since I was like 5.
Woo! So out of all the movies that you remember, did you ever see Haunting of Morella?
Yes, 1990.
Oh, my gosh. That was one of my first horror movies with Jim Wynorski. And from there, that's how I got in all the Roger Corman movies.
Including Hard to Die.
Yeah. What happened was I had met Jim at a party, and I hadn't really started to do nudity because, I had been lucky in the sense that I got in the union right after the Bruce Lee movie. When I came back, I got into Howard the Amazing Mr. Hughes with Tommy Lee Jones. Yep. And yeah, I mean, when you're like, just coming into town and you've got the experience, because I was on Broadway and stuff, they just nab you right up. I mean, they really do. And so, but of course you have to cut the mustard. I mean, I had to, you have to audition for the studios, and they don't fool around with if you can't act. They just don't, they don't care who you did, what with.
Right.
Because there's too much money on the line. But anyway, from there, I got in a string of like A projects, at major studios, which was really, really cool. So, the nudity thing, when I met Jim, he said, well, if you want to be in my movies, you have to, and this is really funny. He said, you have to pop your top, Deb. I said, pop my top? And I said, no, Jim, I'm a real actress. I really can't do it. Even though I've always, been partial to, nudity and stuff. I mean, I always, liked to go skinny dipping when I was a little girl. And one of my first movies that I did in New York was, well, actually, I was in Miami, was a movie I produced and wrote, like, in my late teens, called Creation, and I shot a scene, rising up out of the ocean at sunrise, totally naked. and loved every minute of it, because the artistic aspect of nudity was always, something that I appreciated, from the great artists and everything, And I'm not saying this to sound conceited or anything or vain, but, I just have, like, a beautiful figure. And
I'll agree with that.
Right. But I mean, I don't say it, you guys, to sound like a conceited person, but, I always felt like, well, actually, in my training, I was taught to look in the mirror, see who you are, and what your commercial ability is. Because as an actor, you have to sell yourself.
Exactly.
And, and so part of my sellability was that, I'm sexy. Let's just put it that way. So, and always have been. So, and that doesn't make me better than anybody else, you guys. I'm not saying that way, for real. But nudity, just happened naturally. Because what happened was I got approached by Playboy magazine, and I did like a little starlet thing with it's not Ozzy's wife. Who was the other one? Shannon Tweed. She was married to.
She is married to Gene Simmons.
Gene Simmons, correct. I was in Playboy with her, and like it was the late '80s. I think it was '89 or something. And so therefore, I went to Jim. He called me desperate. The girl who was supposed to play the serving girl in The Haunting of Morella never showed up. And it was a Screen Actors Guild movie. I am in the union and whatnot. And he needed somebody. And this is show business. This is how it works. I mean, believe it or not, he calls me on the phone, and I happen to be home. And this was in the old days, when there was no cell phone. And he said, "Deb, it's Jim." And I go, "Hey, Jim, what's going on? I was just going to call you and let you know that I was just in Playboy, so I really don't mind, popping my top anymore." I don't think I might have said that, too. I might have said pop your top because I thought it was so funny when you said it. And, Jim and I are friends, so, we kid around a lot. So, and he said, "Well, good, because I need you right now. Can you get down here? Like in 30 minutes, I'm down at the Roger Corman Studios down in Venice, and I need you immediately to play the serving girl." And he said, "You're in SAG, you're in SAG, right?" And I said, "Yeah, of course." And he says, "Get down here and I'll pay you double." And I said, "Okay, I'm in the car right now." And I came down, and it was like one little scene. But then what happened was it turned out so well that through the whole movie they bring back, because I'm the original serving girl where the curse gets started and everything like that. So then, Jim put me in some flames, and all this stuff. That scene in the bathtub. So it was really fun. So after that, I was in all of these Roger Corman films for all through the 90s. Dinosaur Island, 976 Evil 2, Hard to Die, Saturday Night Special, because then, Jim was friends with Fred Olen Ray. What was that movie? Mind Twister. There was a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, Mindbender?
Mind Twister.
Okay.
With Richard Roundtree, and it was Telly Savalas's, I think, his last film. I was on the set with him, and Anna, the girl on it was really a big star at the time, and I play her lesbian lover, and I have a butterfly tattoo on it, and I got that part. Fred asked Jim, "Who do you think could, go crash through a sugar glass window in one take?" And Jim goes, "Debbie Dtuch." So he calls me down for the interview, and Fred Olen Ray goes, "So Deb, can can you crash through a sugar glass window in one take? And I said, Fred, of course. I'm a gymnast. I dance. I can do any of that stuff. And I said, they call me one take Deb. And he says, okay, you got the part. And I did it on one take. He says, because it's so low budget, we only have budget enough for one sugar glass. But I found out he had 3. But we did it on the first take.
Jim,
and so, yeah, it was really cool. If you ever see Mind Twister, it starts out the whole movie. I go crashing through it, kind of like Lethal Weapon 1, of which I actually auditioned for that role. Richard Donner was the director of Lethal Weapon 1, and Shane Black wrote it, and Joel Silver produced it out of Warner Brothers, and I auditioned for that role, and I was so close to getting it. The opening of Lethal Weapon 1, I could tell you a lot of heartbreaks, too, parts that I almost got and didn't get, but you just keep going forward and everything and enjoying the process of being an actress and artist and whatnot. But anyway, so because to go back to the original, story about Pop the Top, once I did the Haunting of Morella scene where I'm nude in the bathtub and my neck gets slashed, I was in all Roger Corman films, and you cannot be a lead in a Roger Corman film, directed by the great Jim Wynorski, I have to say, without a nude shower scene.
Well, yeah, Corman, I love Roger Corman, and Corman's been quoted as saying, you got to give them what they want, boobs and blood.
Yeah, that's it. So once I did it in Haunting and Morella, and if you notice, all my nude scenes, all of them are very, tasteful and nicely done. It's nothing, and true, and I understand this because I don't know if you guys know this, but I produced my own movie called The Hollywood Warrioress. So,
I just want to put a sequel to that, right?
Oh, I hope to. That's why I'm trying to, at this point, get some publicity for my movie because I just screened it in New York. I did a horror convention called the Gotham Show in New York City about a couple weeks ago. Maybe 3 weeks now. It was, what was the date? August 9th or something like that. But anyway, and the audience loved it. And then I did a Chicago screening last summer at the Alley Cat Comic Shop in Chicago, and because it's actually only been out not even a year, but I did a premiere screening in Chicago last summer before I officially released it. They loved it there. And then I did an LA screening last November here during the film market, the American film market, and it was a private screening. There were only about 40 people at it because it was actually one of, the first LA screening, and I was nervous because it's so ultra low budget. Leo and Wolfman. I mean, because I had taken it to so many different people, and a lot of people were interested. There's so many stories about my own movie, how I finally got it made, that, we don't have enough time to hear the stories, but some of it's a horror movie in itself. I mean, I started filming with one dude, and all of a sudden all the tapes disappeared, and all the money, and it wasn't my money either the first time.
You have investors.
Yeah, that's all gone. That all disappeared. And so so what happened was I just decided, you know what? I'm just going to do this thing myself. And so, of course, I don't have a whole bunch of money, but it was a smart choice for me to do because I was able to put everybody in it that I wanted to. I didn't have to do any favors for anybody, and I made the movie exactly the way I wanted it and wrote it exactly the way I wanted it. I had a great screenwriter, the whole thing, was just the way I wanted it to be.
So,
And even though when you see it, you'll see that, oh my gosh, that the sound was off in that scene, or, the lighting was a little off in here and there. And, there'll be technical things, production value that, it's not, that great. But it's a Screen Actors Guild film, and it's a full-length feature. And every time I show it, the audience loves it. And I put in definitely one nude love scene and then a lesbian scene. And, it's like I had two different love scenes, one with a woman and one with a dude. And I'll tell you, it spices it up like crazy. And even though it's not blatant nudity, it's just enough that titillates the audience. Because I just feel that, if you want, and it's still PG-13, because the way the nudity is, it's kind of like in a dream, so it's kind of blurred out. So I think it's still PG-13, but regardless, it might be a soft R, I don't know. But basically, how I feel about when you make a movie, you have to have all the different levels and experiences of life in it if you want to really get to that deeper level, really getting the audience involved and excited. So you got to have a little sex in it. That's what I think.
Yeah, the sex sells,
And then blood and dead bodies. I mean, I always tell this story when I first came out in Sorority Girls and the Creature from Hell, and I think it was 1992 or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, I went to the film market because it was done by a different, a studio, and they had asked me to come down because they were going to get distributors all over the world for it, and they wanted me to be there, to talk to the different people, that were coming in as the star of the movie. And I said, sure, I went down, I saw the poster was all lit up. They had put it on glass. It wasn't even on paper, and it was all lit up. And there I was with the two other girls, Gloria and Dory. And I was in shock. I went, oh my gosh. Kind of like the way I felt when they said there was a big billboard in Times Square. It was like, it's like, oh my gosh, I feel. And when I was on the cover of the Screen Queens Illustrated, and they helicoptered it in to the Roosevelt Hotel in New York at the Fangoria convention, and the line was around the corner for me. No, for real, to sign the sign the. And my hand was so tired I couldn't even use it at the end of the day from signing so many Screen Queen Illustrated magazines. But I felt like a movie star. And there I am sitting there trying to be cool. And they would come in from Japan and South America and Italy, because the American film market, they fly in from all over the world. And you sell territories. And I was sitting next to these big producers, and I would listen to the conversation. And out of their mouths, and I think it was a guy from China or Japan or someplace going, how many dead bodies? And then they would say how many dead bodies, because in Sorority Girls there's quite a few. I think there's 15 dead bodies, right?
Yeah, it's a high body count.
Yeah, because they pile them up in the cave,
Yep.
And all the kids. And then I hear them say, how many nude scenes? How many boobs? And then they go, how many love scenes? And then they go, how many explosions? And then Sorority Girls had all of the above. And so they said, okay, we buy.
That's cool.
Is that hilarious?
That is cool.
So I got my lesson. If you want to sell a film, have at least one explosion, have at least one nude scene in it, and have at least a couple of dead bodies, and you'll be able to sell it.
He's just living exactly what I say. He's doing what Corman would do. You know?
Is that hilarious? They didn't have, but I don't remember them saying shower scene. Roger Corman, shower scene. Got to have a shower scene if if you're the lead actress. But I think they got that from Psycho. The Janet Leigh scene when she's in the shower. I mean, that is iconic.
Our Promises with Jane Mansfield, like 3 years later, when she was in the bathtub.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's amazing. So I don't have a shower scene in the Warriors. I've got, when I do the sequel, I'm not going to say if. You always have to be really positive. When I do the sequel, got to have a shower scene.
Got to have a shower scene.
From my lips to your ears, you guys.
There you go, man. I mean,
you got to ask me some sort of question about something.
Okay, well, I was going to bring up the fact that your family, your uncle that you hung out with in Hollywood was one thing, but you also have some very famous civil engineers in your family.
Oh, yeah, the Brooklyn Bridge, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't, it's funny because when I first came out to L.A., I was with my grandmother, who is Mary G. Roebling, who is now in heaven. But she was, I traveled all over the world with her. She was very proud of me. As a matter of fact, when I was in Howard the Amazing Mr. Hughes, which was my first television appearance, she was in the 21 Club sitting at the Roebling table, and she had everybody in 21. She said, "There's my granddaughter." But anyway, I'm very, very proud of that part of my family. And my first cousin, Christian Roebling, does the freaking music, does a musical score for my movie. He is like an amazing rock star in New York, and he lives in Brooklyn, he has a condo right near the Brooklyn Bridge, and he is like one of the coolest dudes in the world, and he's my only first cousin, and he does the music from my movie. Oh. I wish on your show you could show like little clips of my movie, and the opening, if you get a chance, the opening credits, that movie, it's the song is called Journey, and my cousin Christian Roebling, he writes some music to it. He's a really talented musician, singer, songwriter, and right now he's doing all the stuff for the Brooklyn Bridge. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff, and he's like, I think, in his early 40s, but, of course he looks way younger than that, good looking, very cool guy, and married with 2 gorgeous little boys, and I was just with him, when I went back to New York to do the autograph signing show. But anyway, he is just so hot right now. They're doing a whole bunch of stuff for the Brooklyn Bridge, documentaries and all this stuff, and Christian is doing all the music. So it's really, really cool. Yeah, the Brooklyn Bridge will live forever. It's like a legendary piece of architecture. And you know what? It is protected. It is definitely protected.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, nothing's going to ever happen to the Brooklyn Bridge.
So you're talking about your movie Hollywood Warriors. I think I said that right.
Yeah, Hollywood Warriors. Yeah, that was a concept of mine that happened by chance. In 1997, I believe it was, there was a magazine from Austria, I believe it was, and Jonas Moore was a photographer who came over to L.A. to shoot the 5 top B-movie queens of USA for Cinema Magazine, and out of Austria. And I was one of the 5. Brink Stevens, me, Linnea Quigley, Monique Parrott, and then Sassy Vargas believe it or not, Sassy Vargas,
Wow.
which I know Sassy, but I mean, I guess she was really big over there in Europe, and myself. And he called me up, and it was like almost like the night before the shoot, and because everything was sort of last minute. He said, "What kind of persona are you? You know, and how do you see yourself?" Because everybody had chosen something. Brink was a vampire, and Linnea was the, you know, sort of like the sexy horror ghoul type girl, goth girl.
Right.
Monique was a 40s mob girl. Sassy, I forget what Sassy was. But anyway, I said, I don't know. I never really thought about it. I said, but if I have to portray something in the interview, I always think of myself as a warrior. I said, I'm either, you know, being chased by a monster or a demon, or I'm pursuing a demon and killing them. And most of the time, I have a sword in my hand when I do it, or a knife. And so I said, I feel like a warrior. And Xena was, and Hercules were kind of big at that time, and the guy just jumped on it. He says, "Oh, great." He said, "You know, we don't have a warrioress." And I said, "A warrior." And I said, "Cool." I said, "I'll throw something together, and we can actually shoot at my uncle's house up in Hollywood Hills." Well, what happened is, my uncle was in Europe at the time. Oh, no, actually, my uncle had just passed away, believe it or not. And so, you know, it's a long story, but there was nobody at the house. I could have used the house because there are pillars there and a beautiful pool, and, you know, I could have used it, but I couldn't get the location. So the photographer said, "Oh, well, I'm staying at this house in the hills, right underneath the Hollywood sign. So why don't we shoot out on the grounds there?" And I said, "Cool." So I went up. All the photographs are with me with the sword. I made this warrior's outfit up out of stuff that I had in my closet, which all of us Scream Queens have a wardrobe to die for. We could be anything you want at any moment. I never have to worry about a wardrobe artist coming in because, you know, there's always something. And that's one of my favorite talents that I possess, is doing wardrobe and hair and makeup. It's all part of who I am as an actress. So I created this, you know, really cool warrior's outfit, and I had a sword, a prop sword from a shoot that I had just done. And I went up, and all the pictures are underneath the Hollywood sign. So when they came out in the magazine, there I am with the sword right under the Hollywood sign. So, of course, one of my payments was that I could, you know, copy, you know, I could have that photo and use it for reproduction, whatever I wanted to do with it, and sell them at shows. And every time I went to a show, the picture, the warrior's picture, sold out. So then I went to AFM, and I decided, let me pitch this idea. Actually, I was in the Hollywood Christmas parade as a warrioress, and the people at the parade loved the warrioress. I had a big sign, the Hollywood Warrioress. I said, I think I got something to do with this. And so that's when I went to AFM. And a friend of mine who was with Bang Comics did a comic book for me. And then an artist at one of the shows, John Tuckey, he did a action figure, but it was more of a model kit. It was a model kit. And that sold out. So I said, I got to do something with this. So that's why it became a project that I wanted to produce it. And then I finally did, and I did it myself. So that's where the inspiration came from. Isn't that interesting?
That is very cool. Deb, I want to thank we got to get ready for the live show now. I want to thank you for coming on Sit Down.
Oh, my gosh. I can't believe an hour has gone by so fast.
Yeah, just about, yeah.
Oh.
So if people are looking for you on the internet, where can they find you?
I think the best way to contact me at this point, because I had a website, but right now it's in reconstruction, the best way is through Facebook, I think. And then if you could go to my my movies Facebook page. That's even better because the fan club has gone to it's called Hollywood Warriors on Facebook. If you just type in Hollywood Warriors, WARRIORESS, and then click on it, you can see clips of the movie and stuff, and you can send me messages. And please like the movie, because what I'm trying to do is, PR it so I can get some serious financing so we can really go to town and shoot the sequel. I got a castle in Romania and everything. So I'm so ready to go.
That sounds so cool. Well, thank you again for coming on. For Deborah Dtuch, I'm the 13th Wolfman, and I'm on the prowl.